Hi Zach, I watched your video on hypnosis and I actually have been hypnotized before, so I've got a few little things to say about it. At my high school graduation, which was a couple months ago, we had, every year they have a hypnosis show where they have, 20 kids who get selected to be hypnotized, and so I was one of them, which was like really exciting. Quick sidebar. Okay, so the way they pick you is you've got a crowd of 500 people sitting in the bleachers, right? And the hypnotist says, okay, whoever thinks it might be a cool idea to try to get hypnotized, or if you want to be selected, then you come out on the floor. And there's, like 100 or 200 people on the gym floor, and so he takes you through like this testing selection process. So you like close your eyes and you do this thing, you like put your arms out in front of you like this. I'm sure there's, this is the way our guy did it. And so we kind of did like a little mini hypnosis, and then he went around and picked people. There was some sort of sign. He told us, like, if your arms start raising in the air, then that means you're like in it, that should happen. And like I'm standing there and like my arms didn't start raising. They actually really, really hurt because you're like pressing your palms really hard together and holding your arms out in front of you, and it was like very painful, and my arms were not rising anywhere by themselves. And so, I think that was just to set people off who were just trying too hard, and he wanted people who were going to be hypnotized and were going to, be the stars of the show. He wanted people who were going to be hypnotized for real, not people who were faking it. And so what he was really looking for, I think I figured out what it was while I was there. I felt my eyes starting to vibrate and move by themselves. It was just, kind of weird. And, I recognized that. I'm like, oh, I bet that's probably what he's looking for. And so, I just kind of like let that happen. And I could see everyone else, they were still being picked. And I saw him pick one boy, and his eyes were like, moving like, really fast and all over the place. So I think that's how he chose. As far as my experience goes, I was like under a spell. I felt like I was always in control, and I was 100% conscious of like everything I was doing. And they made us do like crazy stuff, like we were dancing and like all this like stuff that it's really funny, you wouldn't like do in front of a crowd of hundreds of people in normal circumstances. So it's obviously there's something going on, but it just made me very calm and docile. I was comfortable being in front of all those people. But I wasn't like under a spell or anything. And I think that it varies a little bit. Certainly there was one of my friends who was sitting next to me. I could tell while I was, hypnotized that he wasn't in it as far as I was. He was, still very stiff, and he wasn't quite doing it. Because one of the main things about hypnosis is that you have to, want to do it. You can't be forced into hypnosis. Most of it is just you relaxing yourself, and you have a hypnotist there, and audio and visual stimuli to help you along. But really, it's just you letting yourself become relaxed. So if you don't want to do it, it's not going to happen for you. It's mostly just conscious choice. One example of how it didn't really work, though, at the very end of the show, the hypnotist told the crowd that they were supposed to tell all the students who had been hypnotized that, like, oh, you were terrific. And the word terrific was supposed to make us have a certain response, which was supposed to be, thanks, I know, to say that really loud. And, it'd be like, oh, kind of funny. And I was completely aware of that. And, like, when people told me afterwards, like, oh, you were terrific, I was not compelled to say, thanks, I know. I knew what they were trying to do. Like, we were supposed to be unaware of it, but I was completely aware, and I didn't feel compelled to respond that way. But a few things that were really surprising, one of the acts, I guess, during the show is we were made to believe, or put in the setting that we were like watching movies. And so, the hypnotist would tell us, like, oh, you're watching, like, tell us what type of movie we were watching, and then we would act as if we were watching it, in a movie theater. And that was, there was like a scary movie, and that was actually scary for me. Like, my light just went off. And I felt scared, like legitimately. I was really scared, and I was like screaming my head off. Like, I was terrified. It wasn't even like how you get scared in a movie. I was like scared in like real life. And I think most of that is, they use music a lot, which is, like an emotional heightener. And so I guess combined with a hypnotic state, combined with music, produces a really strong emotional response. But I was totally surprised that how terrified I actually felt. And another thing is, when I got out, people would tell me, like, I thought I remembered 100% of the stuff I did, and that I had been, like, 100% awake for the whole thing. But there was a few things, like, for the most part I was right, and I had remembered the whole thing, but there was like a few things that I didn't remember. And like I didn't realize how long it was. It was a long time, like an hour or two. I thought at the beginning he told us it was going to be like 15 minutes. And so when I got out of it, I was kind of thought it was like that long maybe. And I had no idea that it had taken so long. And one of the acts was, you were supposed to be like a model. So you would like walk around like in front of the crowd was on the bleachers. So you'd walk around, as if you were on a catwalk, and we were supposed to pose in front of cameras. Like if someone pointed a camera at us, part of the instructions were to, strike a pose. And one of my friends was sitting in the front row, and so I walked by him and I saw that he had a camera, and so, I did some poses, which are all very ridiculous and stupid looking, I'm sure. And afterwards, I found out that he was not holding a camera. He was just holding his hands like this, and I was 100% sure that I had seen a camera in his hands during the show. Yeah, so that was another thing that was really surprising at the end. But I think for the most part, I was, pretty conscious, pretty aware during the whole thing.